What's up, everybody? Celtic Scarecrow here, back for everybody to get those 10s and 20 views. Yeah, I had to change the color on the ring light up here because I'll show you. It's kind of funny. My hair, which is brownish blonde, if it's the right button, wrong button. There it is. It vanishes in the green screen. Why am I not in set either? I don't know. So yeah, when I use my normal green screen that shows like how pale I truly am, my hair kind of vanishes within it. So we're gonna go to this where I look a little more tan. Hopefully I get like this in the summer. And my hair stays in because I don't really throw my bandana on. But if you've been watching the Twitch, which go check it out, I may be live right now. Maybe. I played a lot of Monster Hunter because I like the game Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Wild is coming out. I was like, oh shit, I never beat Iceborne because of crap friends who wanted to speed run the campaign. I know there's not much of a campaign, but hell, I still wanted to hear it, and they're like, no! And I was like, fine, got fed up with the game. So, went back to it, and I still never beat it before Wild came out. So I might be still playing that off stream, but just to dick around. But yeah, today, technically yesterday, Monster Hunter Wild came out, so it's what I'm going to jump to. But today, we are going to do a reaction, because it is Reaction Saturday to a channel called My Name is Byf, B-Y-F. It's like, My Name is Byf. He's doing something right, never heard of him, but he's easily doing something right because he has over 1 million subscribers, so good job, good sir. So keep up the good work. I don't know your content, but he apparently does a lot of video game lore. So today we're checking out Monster Hunter lore, the Ancient Civilization, and the Forbidden Axe Explained. Now, I don't know if this has something to do with the Monster Hunter 1, because that's the game clicked in the link of his thing, but I have no idea. But like I said, I love lore. I love backstories, even two games that don't really need a backstory, because Monster Hunters just go out there and do research on monsters' faces. But I think the one guy explained it best, because you ever want to hit a comically sized weapon on a T-Rex face while wearing a electric unicorn's assless chaps? That's Monster Hunter. Enough of that, let's see what my guy has to talk about. One, good work with the that's definitely the Destiny music mixed in. So decent intro so far.
Greetings, hunters. My name is Byf here. So when
Byfear? Dude, where's the rest of the words?
when people first started to learn that I liked Monster Hunter, I was asked a lot of questions, and the most repeated question I got from that moment on was whether I would be making lore videos about Monster Hunter.
Oh, I figured it'd be what kind of weapon you're using, because this looks like you're using greatsword.
It is, after all, what a lot of you guys subscribe to me for, lore videos. It was so important as a question that I decided a whole video to answering the question should be made. Now, if you watched that video, just note that the next 20 seconds or so is a quick refresher for those that didn't. My take on the whole topic was that I would make the videos only if I had someone who could assure me of the accuracy of the lore, and if I had some way of ensuring that I was conveying it properly.
Okay, I'm liking this so far. Kind of sounds like a British narrator, just saying, too. I mean, that's your narrator. Go check his channel, great guy. Never met him, but he's a great guy. But, so basically he's going like, I'm not going to do it unless I know it's correct. So, which is really cool, so.
Enter Band Dino, Monster Hunter lore master and key contributor to the Monster Hunter wiki. With his help, checking over my scripts and helping to plug holes in my lore knowledge, I've been able to brush up to the point where I feel comfortable enough to talk about the world of Monster Hunter. So, we'll count this as the first of our few forays into the Monster Hunter universe, and hopefully you guys enjoy this enough for me to make more episodes. Anyway, let's start off with the simple notion of creation in Monster Hunter's world before we move on to the meat of this video, which is going to be regarding the ancient civilization. To be honest, there's not much here to talk about, but there are a consistent set of references to a simple concept that persists throughout most of Monster Hunter.
You're doing research on monsters by unaliving them and then using their body parts to make comically sized weapons.
And that's being in balance with nature. At the very start of recorded history of Monster Hunter, humans and other intelligent bipedal species are really a bit of a footnote, but the one consistent fact
that was a glitch with that Rathlos.
that is known about the world is that it was in balance. At very least, nature was in balance. And as a result, there was order and there was a certain degree of harmony. It's unclear how civilization really started from this point, but there's a few typical creation myths out there that might provide a few ideas. But
one theory I kind of think of is the world of Monster Hunter, Earth, just really post-apocalyptic and well after nature reclaimed it, and most of the monsters are just radioactive evolutions of stuff that just kept evolving and advancing.
It should be stated that from the nature of the story I'm about to tell you, these are quite obviously just myths, and I don't think we can lend too much fact to them aside from just being neat little pieces of lore.
Oh god, he's in the middle of a fight and with one guy and his wife showed up.
In particular, you can look at the Tale of the Five, not to be confused with the similarly titled Five. The tale tells of a creation myth that sees 5 dragons creating the world. You can actually find a copy of this to read in the private suite room if you've unlocked it in Astera. It'll be just by your bed, and it reads as follows. Once there was a world...
I did not know there was that there.
...world without time. The world was nothing but white light, inhabited by 1 people and 5 dragons. In that world, there was only eternity, and a sun that burned without beginning or end. And because there was only timeless eternity, nothing was ever lost, yet nothing was ever gained. One day the people began to wonder why their world had no beginning or no end. So they asked the dragons. The dragons opened their mouths as if to answer, but from their mouths poured water instead of words. It rushed out in streams to create the sky and the oceans, and the dragons swam away. The dragons swam to the center of the ocean.
Mike has joined the online session. This sounds a lot like the creation of Earth with people. It's like a world with fire with nothing to create it. Well, Earth was a giant ball of lava just floating around. Then, of course, a meteor hit it. Meteor had something in it and it helped create, clouds which create rain and all that other fun stuff.
Ocean, and there they began to transform into an island. One dragon sank into the sea and became the land. One lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains. One dragon stooped low and became the lakes, and scattered its scales to create the rain. One dragon fell into a deep slumber and became the forests. The last dragon climbed far into the sky and became a star of sapphire blue, shining brightly above the island. The people could not understand why the dragons had left, or why they had transformed. Eventually, a lone youth decided to go to the island to seek answers from the dragons themselves. He donned a simple cloak, climbed into a boat, and cast off alone into the murky seas. At last, guided by the sapphire star, he reached the island of the 5.
Oh, this is why they say let the sapphire star guide your way? Oh, shit. I just thought that was just some random, religious phrase, like, let the Lord be with you, or go in peace, my friend.
Some time passed, and the youth returned. Did you speak with the dragons? The people asked.
Okay, your Palco looks pretty cool, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Also, this scene in the game, she always looks so sad, like she's never gonna see you again.
Yes, I spoke with them, he replied. Then tell us, why did they create the island? But the youth did not answer. Instead, he reached into his cloak and pulled out 5 dragon scales, which he gave to the people. And then, before anyone realized, the youth disappeared. The people left their white world and sailed across the ocean, using the 5 scales to create their own lands, their own mountains, their own lakes, and their own forests. Last of all, they created a bright moon so that the sapphire star which guided the youth during his voyage to seek the dragons would no longer shine alone in the sky. The land grew large enough to obscure the sun, and day and night were born. The mountains, lakes, and forests breathed together, and the seasons were born. The moon cast its light on the ocean, and waves were born. And thus time
That was actually accurate. The moon is the reason why we have waves and tides and currents.
was born also. Swept up in the almighty current of time, the people came to know death. But the people also came to know life. Countless days and countless nights have passed since people first came to live on the lands they had created. As time passed, they lost their memory of the 5 dragons and even the memory of how time itself had been born. But deep inside their hearts there dwelt a quiet knowledge of the...
Cool story, I'm going to cut them off. But it sounds like there's just one people. There's clearly different races in this game. Like, you have a dwarf. The little guys, like they're almost like gnomes. You have the people with the elf ears. It's like not everyone's human. So where did that come from? Is that just an evolution trait based off where they lived? They're all were once human, but due to the fact they picked different regions, they got different like ancestral things. Because that's actually why, like things like skin color, eye color, hair between like people from different areas are different.
The Island of the 5, the most sacred place in the world, which to this day sleeps in the middle of the ocean, uninhabited by people and unchanged even by the relentless flow of time. Needless to say, some of you will remember the Sapphire Star reference, and it's pretty clear that this is the basis for the naming of the 5 fleets that travel to the New World under the Research Commission.
Well, I thought we were just the 5th exploration, but the Sapphire Star part, yes. Like, I thought if we didn't solve it, somebody else would come after us being the 6th.
And as well, there is, once again, that kind of interesting idea of a balance with nature. This is a world that was created with dragons. It is one...
See, Homeboy here is easily an elf.
...that was created in harmony with dragons. It's one where mankind was able to even consider going and asking them. They are not seen as opposing creatures. They are instead seen as something different. They are seen as a part of creation and an important part of the world. There is...
Yeah, it's a kind of like almost like the Polynesian myths of how the islands were born type thing. Go watch Moana.
a respect and a balance for nature. And I believe this is part of the ideals that the Hunters Guild has decided to employ, not just in their general ranks of hunters, but also within the ranks of the Research Commission. The Research Commission that has now travelled to this new world. However, that brings us to the next really big point. In Monster Hunter World, if you're in what's known as the New World, what's the old one? Well,
I figured that was more like how the United States was considered the New World. Like, no one traveled this far, and they're like, holy crap, there's land here? It's a new world. But maybe I was just wrong.
this is the old world.
Okay, then. Oh, and I think the game we're going to play in, I'm not sure if you can see it on my screen. Yeah, over here. I think this is where we're going to be, because it's like no man's land. It's supposed to be like the... either there or down at number 7.
Also, I'm
Around here. As I click stuff to... that's probably where the game's going to be. Either there or there. The new one, Wild.
gonna do you all a favor and nip a common misconception some of you might have heard in the bud before it spreads. The old world, or the world of Monster Hunter that you can see on this map right in front of you, is not called Midgard. You'll hear that getting bounced around from time to time, but it's actually not called Midgard. There's a region here in the northwest called Midgard, but that's not the whole world. This all started...
It's like the British people, like, this is our world. You're just a small island, dude.
back in the day because one of the earlier texts for Monster Hunter listed someone as being one of the most qualified geographers in Midgard, or words to that effect, and people assumed that it meant one of the most qualified geographers in the whole world, when in actuality it was just one of the most qualified geographers in this particular region, which happens to be very heavily settled. So, yeah, no, not the world. I do not believe there is a name for the whole world of Monster Hunter, but for our purposes we shall simply refer to this as the Old World. There are various regions across the known world of Monster Hunter, but there are some that end up being more interesting than others. And the first time I noticed anything different was way back in Monster Hunter Freedom 2 on the PSP. It was my first quest into the jungles, and I noticed that something stood out in stark contrast to the rest of the land around me that was filled with trees, festooning vines all over the place, bamboo shooting out of the ground and obstructing my view. But there was something that pierced the sky. Namely, it was these strange, ruined temple-like structures that could be found all over the coastline.
Well, it's like one of those things where I forget who brings it up, but it's like if you want to find like the ancient, like oldest cities in the world, like do not go searching inland. Unfortunately, they're probably underwater because the sea level has risen. We know this, and it's also have sank. That's why you see like seashells out in like Pennsylvania. But you know, like people lived where water was, so if you find where giant lands of water were, you'll find ancient civilizations.
And even near the starting area. Back in the day, I thought nothing of it, because, well, I was playing this a decade ago. That would have made me the tender age of 12. Ugh, that's scary to think. Anyway.
This video is 17 years old, which would have made me 19.
These are some of the ruins that once belonged to what's known as the ancient civilization, and thus they actually have some serious significance to our story. Now, these small temple outcrops are actually minute in comparison to some of the other ruins found throughout the world. I mean, just look at these. This is the cloud viewing fortress, and this is the tower, and this is the sky corridor. These technological marvels are, for the most part, quite clearly beyond the capabilities of the civilization we see today in Monster Hunter that is still stuck in some kind of technological dark age. But the most...
Not really a bad thing. Well, if you're in a world where you don't really have that much tech and you can survive and everyone's happy and healthy, yeah, you're not that terribly off, but you don't really need phones and planes.
important thing to note about...
They're great to have, don't get me wrong, but you know, the internet is not always a great place.
About that sentence is that I say, for the most part, for one pretty clear exception to that poor technological status, and that's the weapons and armor that we fight monsters with. I mean, come on, we have a lance that's also a gun, and it does this.
Don't forget the mega barrel bombs.
Yeah, pretty powerful. No Stone Age tech here. This is the real deal. The real question behind all of this, though, is why? Why is the technology of our weapons and armor so advanced compared to the rest of our stuff?
Because we find ways to unalive things, regardless of the time frame.
The answer would appear to be that we've borrowed or derived our techniques for forging weapons and armor from the ancient civilization. They were also hunters back in the day, although they regarded their targets in a very different manner to what we do. Talk to a hunter today, and there's a fair amount of respect for the beasts they're fighting, but the ancient civilization used the materials from slain monsters so frequently that their death was probably of little consequence. Techniques for creating powerful weapons were left behind in the ruins of the ancient civilization, and the Hunters Guild has been slowly collecting them over the years. This includes designs for some of the strongest weapons in the Monster Hunter universe.
What? Dr. Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated was part of the ancient civilization? Come on. The Dragonator? Come on, that's Doofenshmirtz all written all over it.
Dragonators. But here's an even better question. If the technology of the ancient civilization was so advanced, why aren't they around today? Why are we in this Stone Age, and what happened to the people that were building stone towers that quite literally pierced the sky? To understand what happened to the ancient civilization, we really need to start by looking at their relationship with the dragons and nature. When the ancient civilization
I'm still going with the theory of this world could be the world we live in, but of course, World War III happened and we nuked ourselves back to a Stone Age, so...
civilization was at its apex of power, it was in almost complete control of the world, and the dragons that resided within it. They built their ancient monuments with the aid of the dragons, and in some specific cases, dragons would stay behind and guard them, living in that same region even to this day. The ancient civilization even made their monuments with materials from the dragons. Those of you that remembered all the talk about how the world was in balance and how nature was in harmony will already see where this is going. The dragons were effectively slaves to the ancient civilization, and this was only going to be pushed so far before the system broke entirely. But the dragons were already subservient to humans. They were already killing them for materials to construct their monuments. In fact, if you mine an ore node back in Monster Hunter 2, you can actually get decayed dragon scales because a lot of them are built out of Kushala Daora. Yeah, they used ancient elder dragons to build these towers. So the question is this: what pushes something over the line for a civilization that is already killing the things that could destroy it? What forces an uprising?
Oh, there's a lot of things that forces uprisings. Let's see. If you're going with the monsters, you push them so far out of their homes that they are now going to places where humans are. This is what happens with a lot of like bears and wolves. They get pushed out of their territories. Hippos, they could be like hippos, or just realize that they can be giant dicks and just devastate people. Yeah, a lot of things.
The answer to that question is pretty simple. An abomination. The ancient civilization made new use of the materials that they were gathering from the dragons, and created what they would call the Wyvern Machine Soldier, or Equal Dragon Weapon. Through their mastery of technology,
Yep. Leave it to people to pretty much take themselves out at the top of the food chain.
they could create a living being, using a combination of biological and artificial means. But the problem is that life of this manner has to come from death. In order for one creature to live, another must die. However, the ancient civilization was not efficient. The price of one Wyvern Machine Soldier, one Equal Dragon Weapon, this terrible being, would be the slaughter of 30 dragons. Given the power of the ancient civilization at this point, the dragons were, practically speaking, helpless beings that would be slaughtered for the creation of a single Equal Dragon Weapon. What's even more troubling is that the abominations that were created were as powerful as the dragons that were killed to create them, and were built with a ravaging thirst for slaughter. Simply put, they could sustain their life force even further by killing more and more dragons. And this was the point at which the balance of nature, which was already pushed to its limit, had been shattered entirely. You must also understand that the dragons of the time, and even the dragons today, were not, and are not, stupid beasts. They
No. Very few creatures you can call stupid.
were intelligent, sentient life forms unto themselves, and seeing their kin turned
Oh, the giant blue kitty. That's a fun fight.
into such monstrosities was undoubtedly the straw that broke the camel's back. The creation of the Equal Dragon weapons would be known as the Forbidden Act, and would break down relations between the ancient civilization and the Elder Dragons, leading to a terrible conflict that would sweep the entire known world. A conflict known as the Great Dragon War. The war would see
The Hour of Joy. Sorry. I've been watching a lot of people play Poppy Playtime. And it's like, it kind of sounds like something would happen there.
population of dragons dwindle, and would see the ancient civilization wiped out for good. And now, in spite of all their grandeur and all their accomplishments and all their monuments, everything they have created lies in ruins. The only things left are the dragons that guard their once incredible monuments, now left to decay forever in time. But this is only a part of our story. In the next lore video, I'm going to discuss some of the events of the Great Dragon War, the Kingdom of Shrade, and a dark shadow that still brings fear to both humans and dragons alike. Something unnatural, something close to what the Monster Hunter world might describe as evil. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you found it useful, please do feel free to hit a like. Also, if you have your own commentary or if there's something that I missed, keep in mind the comments section is open to you. And don't worry, if it's something that I just clearly haven't got to yet in chronology, I'll be getting there. There's a lot that we need to cover, but at the same time, I'm willing to sit here and learn anything with you that I've missed.
My question is, where do the Pelicos come from? Where do we get these weird sentient cats that can... some that kind of can talk and some that can freaking cook?
I'm not exactly a neophyte anymore when it comes to Monster Hunter lore. I feel like I've spent enough hours researching. But at the same time, I'm certainly not as knowledgeable as I am on the Destiny side of things. So if I've missed something or got something wrong, please do let me know in the comments section down below. In the meantime though, if you want more Monster Hunter content...
I think he's just going to continue rambling on about, like, different things. Good video, I will say. He definitely... You can tell definitely a lot of time and energy was placed in this video. Yeah, I have a lot of questions. A lot of things I did not know about. I just always... I like video games with lore. It's cool to have lore. It's great to have lore. This guy definitely does not just speak out of, like, his ass. Definitely seems like if he's going to make a video on it, he makes a video on it. He's going to do all his due diligence. Great video. Depending on how this went, I'll see how if I want that record a reaction to the more lore videos or just watch it on my free time. But that is it. Like I said, I'm probably live. There's a couple floating links around my head. One is to the gaming channel if you don't watch old videos. The other one is the last video I made. But that's it. That's all I have. I'll see you weird people later.